Hi, this is Frank with a frank opinion. In 1984, George Orwell, whose real name was Eric Blair, wrote 1984, a dystopian horror story about a futuristic totalitarian state by the name of Oceania, controlled by Big Brother, who had its own language that it was forming, called Newspeak, who rewrote history, and who quashed every rebellion ruthlessly. We're in 2017. In my opinion, I think we're halfway to 1984. Many of you have probably, that are familiar with the book, probably have made a lot of parallels to our situation today in the United States and of course in the rest of the world, but particularly the United States. And I'm going to offer some parallels to 1984 that I think are appropriate, even though there are many more. To point out information, if you don't have information, if you don't have knowledge, those that seek to control, to oppress, will have a field day. So here we are in a situation where 6 corporations own 90% of what you read, watch, or listen to. If they become more consolidated, there used to be over 50 in 1983. Now there are only 6. If they become more consolidated and fall into even more conservative hands, more wrong hands, those that want to do harm, we don't have a good situation. The internet. Everybody scoffs and really doesn't get involved, except for very few progressives, in the concept of net neutrality, but it is fundamental because Americans up to the age of 44, their primary source of information is the internet. Well, now we have Ajit Pai, who's been approved by the FCC and confirmed, who has been a proponent against net neutrality. And he's now in a government position to have a lot to say about what you read in the future. Social media. We have 3 main sources of social media, which are very powerful, and which in the recent election have become quite controversial. Facebook, Google, YouTube, and Twitter. Again, what happens if they fall into nefarious hands? We have the ascendancy of the military in our government. A variety of generals now are in key positions. So at one time we applauded ourselves for having a civilian-controlled government. Now we have an ascendancy of the military. We have an administration that is fomenting divisions. Well, people in 1984 turn people in, their neighbors, their wives, their brothers, their colleagues, their co-workers, if they feel that they are going against Big Brother and the totalitarian state. Fomenting division. Endless war. We now have in Afghanistan the longest war ever in the United States. We have footprints all over, as we have seen, the latest one being in Niger, coming to our attention, and now all the other countries in Africa where we have footprints, but that's just a small piece of our footprint around the world. And we have an administration that's bringing up the possibility, or forming the case, piece by piece, of having some conflict, major conflict with North Korea. Endless war. There's endless war in Oceania. In Oceania, you have to come to believe 3 basic things. Peace equals war. It came to be a term called doublespeak out of George Orwell's 2 words, newspeak and doublethink. So that became doublespeak. But appropriate now. Peace equals war. We have to have an increase in military spending. We have to have improvements in our nuclear capability. We have to have footprints all over the world. And in the same way that Oceania made everybody believe that we had to be at endless war with Eurasia and East Asia in terms of the book, we're constantly at war. And therefore, in order to keep our peace, we have to continue that. Possible parallel? Love equals hate. Well, a possibility here is, in order to love your country, you've got to hate immigrants and anybody that's not like you, and transgender people, and Muslims, because you love your country. Freedom equals slavery. Slavery perhaps to corporations. In order to have the freedom, the individual freedom, meanwhile your wages don't go up and the corporations get away with murder. Freedom equals slavery to corporations. In Oceania, the hero of the piece, Winston Smith, has to come to believe that 2 plus 2 equals 5. This is a big theme in the book. Well, what's the current parallel here? We have a serial liar in the White House who claims something that isn't true. And we have learned recently through reporting that he has staff actually, in a sense, rewrite history or put things into effect that make his lies credible. He sends out a 4-star general, whether General Kelly went of his own regard or whether he was sent out. The military has the highest trust of Americans across all the institutions. So who better to send out than a 4-star general to claim that Congresswoman Frederica Wilson did such and such at a 2015 event commemorating a new federal building. And this is, I think, the scary part of this. Because General Kelly, as we have found out through a video of the event, completely lied about what she said and the way she did it. I'm not going to read what he said because you can in reports. But the salient portion here for me is, number one, a military person did this. 4-star general, supposedly trusted first and foremost by Americans. 2, he had somehow the ability to go against his own personal integrity and truth and actually lie. So either he has succumbed to, in this case, Big Brother in the White House, and come to believe that 2 plus 2 equals 5, or he believes in the party as in 1984 and wants to be part of the control of our country, and therefore believes in the values promulgated by the White House. If you keep on, or if we keep on believing 2 and 2 equals 5, what we get are its effects on policy. That in order to improve health care, we have to repeal and replace Obamacare and throw another 18 to 32 million people. That's 2 plus 2 equals 5. It's not 2 plus 2 equals 4. This has tremendous ramifications for our country. In my opinion, we are halfway to 1984. And thirdly, and most importantly, the current administration, because of the nature of the individual that we have as president, is a fumbler. It's obvious. If we get an administration with a head of that administration being more adroit, skillful, wise, in terms of his step-by-step control over our country and removing our democracy further, we are in deep trouble. So think about it. And I'd like to know what you think. Are we halfway to 1984?